I gotta tell you, it is. It's one thing to speak in front of people. It's another thing to be recorded and to analyze, like, oh, my shirt bunched up, or oh, my collar was popped, or yeah, I did need to shave. All those different things. So I have to tell you, one of the things you'd be praying for me. All my insecurities have come out during this awkward season where I have to actually watch myself. And everybody keeps telling me, "Oh, it's good for you, helps you improve," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's easily said for you." But you figure out these kind of weird quirks you have about yourself that I think we all know about ourselves is that we all, in some ways, we want to avoid the mirror um, because we know that it's going to show us those areas that we need to grow, and that's really hard sometimes. So hopefully, I got a lot of pictures yesterday of people who sent me tacos. I did not realize that Taco Tuesday would be such a crazy hit, but that's our family's weird. We try to figure out little ways to celebrate each day, and so one of those is that we do have kind of a nickname for each day. So Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. Wednesday is Wild Card Wednesday, where that is just a nice excuse for like, hey, that's going to be the day that we don't really plan. We've got Throwback Thursday, which is leftovers. And a cool way to kind of say that, we have Friday or Friday Pie Day, which is typically when we try to have pizza or some sort of celebratory, especially in this season. But I would just encourage you, what are just easy ways that you can celebrate normal. And so we celebrate each week that we finish the week, that they made it through school, that we made it through the work week, that whatever was kind of going on. And then we have Soak It Up Saturday, which we typically try to do some sort of like soup or chili or dip or something like that. And then Sunday is kind of our day that we'd like to have a cooler name for, but really we just call it Sabbath Sunday. That we just want to rest and take things slow and celebrate with others. Then Meat Monday, and so we typically try to do some form of like steak or chicken or something like that. So it's a weird deal. I'm super weird, and I come up with these names, and I think at times when it's like, man, can we just call it dinner? So that may be you, but just little ways that we try to celebrate and little victories that you can have during this season. And what's funny about that, it kind of leads to what I was thinking or meditating on a little bit this morning. This verse has come up a lot that we've talked about. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I'm God." And we've talked about that from the standpoint of our culture and how our culture is fast paced. Being it's kind of the fast eat the slow, and so you need to get to the front of the line. You need to make sure that you're there early. You need to always kind of constantly be moving, and God seems to almost rebel against that. And not almost, he does. He flips it upside down. He says, hey, here's an entire day for rest. It's not this weird religious observance of if we don't, God's going to smite us, but it's actually for our good. Sleep is for our good. Finding solitude is for our good. But this morning I was reading over that psalm again just to find context, because be still, I think oftentimes my thought, maybe it's yours as well, is when things slow down or when things kind of get just right, when I have my house decorated the way it's supposed to be, when I finally, after 6 years of living in the house, get that last box unpacked, once we finally get this kid settled, maybe at the end of the night, like we kind of put off that being still because we've got so much going on and so much swirling around us. But Psalm 46 opens in this way. It says, God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Which I love that. It just assumes right from the beginning a very present help, but in trouble. Like when things aren't going our way, when we're anxious, when we're tossed to and fro, when things seem chaotic and kind of out of our realm. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar with foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Then it goes on to say, God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter, but he utters his voice, and the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I'm God. The psalmist there basically directly says, listen, though the earth may completely give way, though the mountains are crumbling, though the ground seems to be shifting underneath us, though nations are raging, and man, it's almost as if the Bible's true, right? God still sits on his throne. And so what separates us from everybody else is not our circumstantial situation, because everybody's got the dropping stock market and oil prices. Everybody is facing insecurity, anxiety about job security. Everyone's trying to raise kids in the midst of a social media age that seems to be pulling them deeper and deeper into darkness. Everybody's trying to get married. Everybody's trying to graduate with honors. Everybody's trying to figure out remote learning. Everybody is figuring out this new world. The difference is that we can lie our heads on our pillows at night knowing that God is in control. And so it's actually not when everything slows down, but in the midst of when everything is crazy and busy, that is when we're still, that's when we find solitude. And so my encouragement, or maybe even challenge for you during this season, is not to pick up new habits, not to figure out ways to decorate your house in new ways, not to finally get to that project you've been putting off, but to be still. And it's not legalistic to say to do that necessarily in the morning, but maybe it's midday, maybe it's the midst of everything, maybe it's when it makes absolutely no sense that I'm going to take 30 minutes, I'm going to go sit outside on a hammock, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to just lay my head down and look straight up at my ceiling, and I'm going to be still, and I'm going to know that God is who he says he is. I want to remind myself of those promises. I want to pray them out loud. And maybe it's journaling that. Maybe it's just laying out, God, this is exactly how I'm feeling right now. Because it said yesterday, we talked about this, right? God knows everything. And even if our hearts condemn us, God is greater still. So it's actually for our good that we are in solitude. It's for our good and therapeutic that we lay out, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm really feeling. And if we can't do that with another individual, then we just do it with God in our own minds. We lay our hearts, our minds, our souls before him. And so today, in the midst of everything you can't control, one thing you can make a decision to do is, will I give God my heart today? Will I open up my mind and my ears to him? Will I confess my feelings and maybe even my sins and anxiety? Because anxiety is talked about over and over in the Bible, and not in a way that says, how could you be anxious? But in a way that says, when you're anxious, because you will be. Whether you're prone to that and it's a way of life for you, or it's once in a while, we all deal with those things. That's the thing that's interesting, is the enemy seeks to, even in this season, to isolate us. You're the only one that feels that way. But that's weird, because God seems to write to everybody, saying we all feel this way. But I got you. Come to me, all you who are heavy laden and weary, and I'll give you rest. So I want to pray to that end today. God, I pray, God, that we know this world is at war against you, and so it's not going to give us the time to be with you. So God, remind us to carve out that time. Father, I saw some this week that said, I finished Netflix. And it brought a smile and some humor into our family, Lord, because we're right there, God. But Father, I pray in this season that we wouldn't pass it all by with entertainment, that we wouldn't pass it all by with quote unquote productivity, that we wouldn't pass it all by with more that we got done. But God, instead, God, we know that the to-do lists that we create for ourselves, that the world tells us is never going to end, that it is relentless in its desire to distract us from you. And so, God, I pray, Lord, that our obedience, our observance of you today would not be legalistic, but instead would be a rebellion against that which the world says we should be. Because, God, we are in the world, but we are not of it. Help us to learn what that means. Help us to sense your spirit. Help us to maybe find the time to do the things we've never done before that are really necessary and important. Time to open your word, time to learn how to pray, time to reflect through journaling or conversation. And so, God, I pray, help us to feel you today. Help us to know you. Help us to hear your gentle, small, whispering voice, because it reminds us that you're near. And we love you. We praise you. And it's in your Son's name I pray. Amen. With that said, just so you know, I'm speaking from some experience. I woke up this morning with some anxiety and push, and was reminded I just need to slow down. But I do ask you to pray for me to get some interviews for a couple openings on staff that don't deal with our worship position, but deal with some other things that we feel that God has laid on our heart. Also, if you're part of our worship team or you would like to be, we're having a Zoom meeting at 12 from 12:30 to 1:15 today. If you'd like to jump on that, send me an email or a private message, and then this afternoon, I'm meeting with about 15 pastors from across the country, just to discuss and talk about what God is doing in the midst of this bizarre season. And so, if you'd be praying for us tonight, also is J247 in crazy different virtual groups and ways. And so, pray for Lucas, pray for Sam, pray for our students. So grateful for Lucas and Sam and their amazing heart and love for these kiddos, including my own. It's personal and near to my heart. So, lots of things to be praying for us as we pray for you. Thank you. Have a great day.